you for answering my earlier question regarding the new associate who lost a position on a separate issue. I had a very nasty party with my firm. I was getting feedback my first 6 months. According to the firm's internal billables, I was one of the most profitable associates at the firm. However, none of this mattered. I ended up on a case with a partner that was spiraling out of control. And the moment he could point to something he felt I did wrong, he basically wrote an email copying my boss, crushing me, and put all his weight trying to blame me for the faults of the case. I tried to push back politely, but I lost my job within days because a powerful partner was out to get me. The firm didn't give me severance or time to look for a job. Why was the firm so vindictive? What went wrong here? Okay, great question. And I'm sorry that happened to you. That's pretty crappy. And I'm sure that's not easy. So let's break this down. So let me just see here. Okay. So here's what happens a lot of times. So this is many times what happens. Partners will, and I don't know if this happened here, but in every firm, partners will make mistakes. Those mistakes may be, the partner may have been working for another partner's client, who knows? But what partners will do a lot of times is, if they made a mistake or they weren't supervising you properly or whatever, they will try to look for people to blame, so the fault's not on them, and then they look better to the other partner. Sometimes the same thing happened to them when they were younger, that they're just following some kind of pattern that someone, and no matter what you did, you would be in that situation. That can happen too. Sometimes you just don't know what happened. You may have had something else happen. But generally, if you're fired from a firm, and you're billing a lot of hours, they're going to lose money if they fire you. They're going to need to get someone else trained. It doesn't always look good to the client when the person switching. So you have to think about what could have happened exactly there, and why are you getting blamed? And maybe there's some stuff you did wrong, maybe not. But here's the point. Is the first 5 years of any attorney's career, first 5 years, you're really learning, and you're learning, and it's not really fair for you to have responsibility for almost everything that you're doing. But especially in the first 1 year or 2 years, it's pretty difficult for you should not, and this is just my opinion, but from what I've seen, if you're smart enough that you're keeping up with what's going on and you make a stupid mistake and stuff, these are just learning experiences. They're not necessarily something that you should be getting fired for. That's just my opinion. And many times the firm is firing you for something like that. Maybe they're looking for a reason to fire you that has nothing to do with you. It could be about money. It could be about, who knows? It could be about a lot of things. But you shouldn't, if I were you, I wouldn't really feel too much if you're a junior associate, because junior associates have problems all the time. Obviously, they were mad. I don't know exactly what happened. But here are the lessons that I think young attorneys should learn. The first one is you have to be, I'm just bringing this up, but the lessons are, you need to be as careful with everything as possible, meaning incredibly, more so than you've ever been, incredibly attentive to details and watch them. And then you need to protect. And so then there's the soldier versus generals. So then you need to be watching to make sure whatever you do, that you're not making those mistakes, or you're not upsetting generals. So you want to follow orders. You want to basically be solicitous of them by helping them in whatever way they can, ways they don't anticipate things, and just being very careful of everything, and then doing whatever you can not to make errors. And again, there's nothing wrong with you having made these errors, but you just need to learn from it. And it doesn't sound like you lost a case or did anything that bad. So I don't really know why the firm is reacting that way. And it's not fair, but you will encounter people like this all the time. So my first job was working for I was working for a judge. And in my first month there, I made a really stupid mistake where I was doing all these prisoner petitions, where people were doing these petitions to get out of prison and for different crimes. And they were just these form things where you would just say denied. And it's just scary now that I think about if I was a prisoner. But then I would give them to the judge for signature. And anyway, so then I had this one, and for whatever reason, I said type granted in there instead. And so I gave it to him, and he called me in his office and closed the door. And this is freaking outrageous. The guy wouldn't have been let go. It would have been caught, but you almost let this convicted person out of prison. and very funny. It never would have happened, but a horrible mistake. And so then I was completely obsessed with details. I'm studying this guy for like 9 or 10 months there. But what had happened was he and I was working with this court reporter that had all these awful things to say about him. And I would go golfing with her and he would see me talking to her and knew what was going on and knew I wasn't on his side with the political way he was approaching things. And so he basically didn't like me. It was looking for a reason wasn't comfortable with me. He didn't like the fact I didn't support him, and which is absolutely right. And so was looking for me to make mistakes. And then I wrote him a memo about something, and which I wasn't even asked to write. And he found an error in that and called me in his office. He was very upset about it.